I think him and Alex are both of those, and I think they're both working on a lot of stuff together. So go talk to them, and they should be able to get you involved.
For health and wellness too?
Yeah, for both of them, I think. And if they're not part of that, they'll know who to talk to.
Okay.
I just don't know off the top of my head right now. Good questions. And they usually have like a meeting once a month. To kind of discuss some stuff. Here, let's do this. Really good to see. We got about 5 minutes, so make yourselves comfortable.
Mostly drive.
Oh, it's not so bad. A half hour.
Oh.
Here.
Did you get the video at this one?
Not like. It's not huge, not in my center.
It's quiet in here. Need some dance music or something.
Did you get to see the Saturn on?
No, I didn't. No, we went over to one of my clients' houses for dinner. And we looked. We saw a little bright speck. We were like, "Is that it?" I was gonna go home and break out my camera. I've got a really nice like telephoto lens, and then never did it. I got home and I was just like, "I'm tired." I went to sleep. But
That wasn't all that, to be honest.
yeah, fun when that stuff happens. But
That's cool.
so who's got clients they're talking to? Sweet, buyers or sellers?
Buyers.
Cool. Where'd you meet them?
Open house.
Love it. That's great. And they're working with you and everything? Like have you gotten a BRE signed yet?
Oh, nah. We were about to write an offer. We were about to write an offer, but he was, but they were asking for a 90-day no rent back. A 90-day rent back, right? And then he was like, yeah, that one was a kicker. And he wanted a pool, but that home, it did not have a pool.
Got it.
And he said, that, you know, it doesn't matter as long as it's pool for a pool, but it was just small. And it was in a high tax area. It was like, or still, keep telling him home.
That's cool, man. And he's still talking back to you and communicating and everything. That's awesome.
What are you looking at?
Huh?
What are you looking at?
Danville, Alma, and Sarma.
A house that has a pool.
Yep.
Yeah, matter of fact, just took it off the market.
Oh, really?
4 bedrooms down. Real nice.
Oh, yeah.
With a swimming pool.
Oh, yeah, what was it?
I can't remember. I just remember the first 2 digits on red. In purple.
Oh, here you do? Oh, okay.
You don't want to look at
Yeah, I could let them know if you want. I'll let you know.
Who did you hold the open house?
It was, I got put on with, the lender, her name is, Young.
So you held an open house for one of the agents? for this house?
Yes, so it was, my mentor put me on with this agent. I mean, with this lender, and they just lets me know, like, oh, I got all about so.
Was it your mentor's open house?
Oh, no, you know, he was just like, I know, I feel like, you know, open house opportunities, and he put me on with the lender, and then,
So you don't know whose open house you held open?
no, yeah, her name is Wayne.
Oh, I don't know her. Interesting. Okay.
Now the KW.
No.
I'm just turning on the camera so it tracks me. All right, everybody. Patrice, good to see you. Erica, good to see you. We're gonna go ahead.
Hello.
And
Hi.
there's more than just the 3 of you. Now I see. Hello. Not showing me everybody like it should. Hello, Mia. There we go. That might work. Cool.
Hi.
Awesome, everybody. Welcome. We are doing Ignite, class 7. Have you guys all gone through sessions 1 through 6 or no? Or some of you guys just jumping in? You're just jumping
I
in?
started with 3.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
2 was canceled and 1 I wasn't here yet.
No worries. No worries. And then where have you guys been starting? Have you guys gone through it already before? Or did you
Yeah,
guys
I just actually.
love it? Very cool. How about you all online? How many of y'all have been through an Ignite session already?
I've done most of them.
Okay. And Mia?
Yeah, I missed 4, but so far I'm on track.
Very cool. Very cool. And has it been valuable for you all?
Very.
Cool. Well, we will get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robert Sogomonian. I'm the assistant team leader here at Keller Williams Walnut Creek. I was regional technology director for Southern California Keller Williams, the region, which was a lot of fun. Got to work for 20-something market centers running all of their technology. Decided to get out of that because it's less fun than it is hanging out with you all in person. So now I'm here helping you all teach. I have about 25 years of experience as a software engineer and about 25 years of experience as a termite inspector and contractor. My dad ran a company when I was younger, and as you know, with family businesses, you very rarely get out of it. So I was doing that and my passion, which is software. Today, we're going to be talking about capturing leads from open houses. So this is Ignite. Session 7, we are in the lead generation section. Now we're talking about capturing leads with open houses. Your next class is going to be capturing leads with social media. One is free. One tends to cost money, but I guess you could do it if you have really good posts that a lot of people follow. Let me get this computer set up just a bit. Cool. So today we're going to be covering open houses. We're going to be talking about capturing leads with open houses, some best practices when you're holding them open. I don't know if many of you guys have, I know you've held at least one. Has everybody in here held an open house open? Perfect. So this is the course for you. Anybody online? Have you guys all held open houses or, okay, got
Yes.
one. Latrice is
Yes.
not. Erica?
Yes.
Cool. So we got a mix, which is great. And if you've held them open before, you might get some new best practices. You might be like, oop, I haven't been doing that. Or maybe, yeah, great, I am doing that and I love it. So you'll get some of those. We'll talk a little bit about preparing for them, prospecting while you're at the open house, and pursuing the leads that you get from the open houses. And then we're going to go over some recap I'm gonna have you all give me some ahas as we go through these. While we're going through these sections, think about the ahas you want to share. How many times have you been in class where you're like, oh, I totally got X out of this, and somebody else raises their hand and said, oh, I got X out of this, and you're like, dang, they took my idea. Think of a couple. And we're going to talk about, well, at the end, they have the daily success system, which I don't know if any of the other instructors are going through with you, but there are daily steps that we kind of recommend you go through to promote your success in Ignite. They are in the student participant manual. Have you guys all received a participant manual? I know you did because I've emailed you one before. If not,
Is it the slides?
it's not the slides, it's actually a PDF. So if you all on the internets have not received a participant manual, put your emails in the chat. For those of you here, after class, let me know and I'll email it over to you. All right, let's continue. Got a really neat quote here from a little real estate agent. You may have heard of him. His name is Gary Keller. I don't know if anybody's heard of him or not, but he's kind of cool. Nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. So he's basically saying that nothing else matters, right? You can have the coolest website on the face of the planet. You can have the most advertising in the world. You could be spending a ton of money on bringing in, or getting your name out there. But if you don't have any leads, you don't have a business. So focusing on getting leads is where you should be, and open houses are a great way to get some leads and get them for free and already have a relationship built with those people. I'm actually going to go back. How many of y'all have some limiting beliefs about holding open houses? Y'all know what a limiting belief is? I'll take your silence as a no, you don't know what a limiting belief is.
Something that prevents you mentally from doing it.
Exactly. It's you not believing in yourself. Having an excuse for why something's not going to work for you. Instead of saying, how can I? You say, can I? Right? So what are some limiting beliefs you might be holding around open houses? I'll give you a free one. I don't know enough about housing yet because I'm new, so I don't feel like I can hold an open house, because what if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? It's a valid limiting belief. I mean, it's a thing. What are some other limiting beliefs that y'all have?
Well, I'm cheating, but I don't have a listing.
There you go. That's fine. You can cheat. I know you saw it on the board. That's great. I love it. It's perfect. I don't have a listing is an awesome one. So how can I have an open house if I don't have a listing? Who else has limiting beliefs around open houses? Anybody online?
Having never sold a home.
Yeah, that's a great limiting belief. And why is that limiting to you?
Because you're trying to have an open house to get somebody to buy a home and you've never actually had a transaction.
Absolutely. So does that make you feel like you're not qualified enough to host the open house?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Great limiting belief. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next slide. Here's a couple of other examples. I don't have signs yet. How can I host an open house? I don't have any signs. I might not know the answers to the questions visitors have. That was kind of what mine was. Open houses don't really work because most people look online anyway. That's a fun limiting belief. I won't feel safe. How many of y'all are concerned about safety at an open house being a solo agent? It's a thing. Now, there are some strategies that we are going to go over later on in this presentation about that. We're going to address that. There's a lot of strategies that you can implement to make sure that you are at least covered when you're at an open house. Here's something else to consider. Should you always accept an open house? Despite the limiting beliefs, let's pretend that you don't have any limiting beliefs. You're like, yep, I'm a badass. I can host anything. I can do whatever. I don't have a listing, but that's fine. I can go find one in the office. Should you host any open house?
Well, I guess you can if you do your research ahead of time.
Okay. Yeah, that's a valid answer. Any other thoughts?
No,
I wouldn't host an open house until like for a while.
Okay, so a stale listing might not be something that you would want to host open. Why would you not want to list that or host that?
It might not have enough traffic. So, and plus if it's like a far, like if it's a commute, like pretty far, then it might not be.
Yeah, absolutely. Commute to an open house, you still have to set up your signs, still have to get the house ready, make sure it's ready, get it prepared. Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
if it's a house that needs a lot of work,
Show well.
yeah, I mean, sometimes you're not going to know that until you go and actually open it up, right?
I would just do it. Because
Okay.
you never know, even if it's been on the market.
Absolutely.
And the other open houses, when they got lucky, you just never know. You just need that one person.
You're absolutely right. Every one of you are absolutely right. Now you can choose to be more purposeful and say, hey, you know what? This open house has been on the market for 60 days. They haven't changed the price. Nobody's going to look at it. I've talked to the listing agent. They've had 0 showings for the past 4 weeks. This might not be the best use of my time. You can also be like, hey, you know what? It's practice. I can practice like positioning my signs out on the roads. I can show up, I can practice getting the house ready for the open house. Even if nobody walks in, I got stuff I can do while I'm there. I've got a phone that I can do a hotspot with or whatever, and I can get online and do practice forms or whatever. So yeah, either way, neither one is the right answer. It's whatever you want to do for your business. Personally, I won't host open houses that are too far away. I like focusing on one area because I want those people to know my name. But there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know what? I don't care where I am. I'm just going to do everything that pops up. Right?
Mhm.
So we're talking about capturing leads with open houses. We know that the 2 main goals for open houses are to sell houses and generate leads. It's not super often that you tend to sell the house that you're in when you're hosting an open house. Usually you capture leads and then those leads will go on to buy something else. Every so often, you will be hosting an open house. Someone will walk in, they'll fall in love with the home and you'll sell it. Who does the open house benefit?
The agent?
Yes. And
The seller.
sellers and buyers. Yes.
everybody.
Everybody.
Mhm.
Who else does it
The
benefit?
neighbor,
Neighbors,
it's so high, and they're home.
100%. They can come in and see what you have it listed for and get an idea of what their house might be worth. And if they're not currently working with an agent, you're at the open house. You can show them how professional you are. What are some of the benefits to you, the agent, when you're hosting an open house? Sorry.
If someone who comes in, they don't have an agent.
Yep, you can capture leads, hence the title of the section that we're in. What's another benefit?
Experience.
Experience. Another one? I mentioned it a little earlier.
Okay.
Exposure. Yes, the good kind of exposure, not the bad kind of exposure. Putting your signs out and getting your name out in the neighborhood. There's a reason that a lot of listing agents want you to use their signs, especially if you're in one of their farms, because they want their name to get more exposure. Also helps you practice your conversations. If you don't have a script practice partner, guess where you're practicing? At the open houses. Not ideal, and just learn from every interaction you have. One of the other primary benefits to hosting an open house is they're inexpensive. You're not really spending any money to do that kind of advertising for yourself. You're putting yourself out there, but you're not, spending $100 on leads or printing out a bunch of flyers or whatever. I mean, you can print a small section for the open house, but 15 pages versus, let's say, 200 if you're going to go door knocking, it's a lot cheaper. It's also easy. You don't have to go around and like canvass the area. People are coming to you Generally, when people are coming to you, they're looking to buy because you're in an open house, or they're, again, a neighbor who might be thinking about selling. But they're people who are interested in the market. Open houses are also very useful prospecting tools for lead generation. As people walk in, you capture their information. You can meet buyers, sellers, and other agents. Other agents are a great source of networking. Maybe not for this particular thing, but if they can't make an open house, they might invite you to host theirs. Now remember, we're not supposed to host open houses for other brokerages, even other Keller Williamses who aren't Walnut Creek and owned by Bev. The reason being, liability insurance does not cover you. The errors and emissions insurance doesn't cover you if something happens on the open house and you're hosting it for another broker. They can actually let you host the open house and then turn around and say, hey, you were stealing my clients. Right? They probably won't. And best practice, keep it in the company. A lot of other companies don't abide by that, but it's very risky. And the official stance by even California Association of Realtors, don't host open houses outside of your own brokerage. So another benefit to hosting open houses is you get to qualify the leads while you're there. What does that mean?
Ask questions.
Ask questions, and what kind of questions? What was that?
If they're pre-approved.
If they're pre-approved, yeah, find out how ready they are to buy or sell if they're thinking about selling. Ask them if they're working with anybody. Ask them how they heard of the open house. Right? You can't start working for somebody if they're, or can't start working with somebody if they're already working with an agent. So if they come in, one of the first questions I ask is, how did you hear about the open house? Oh, we found it online. Great. Have you already talked to another agent about it? No. All right. Are you currently signed with another agent? See, I'm asking them multiple different ways to find out if they're working with somebody. What's the benefit to me for that?
Saves you from wasting your
The
time.
lead.
Exactly. Who was that online? What was that?
Latrice, a lead prospect.
Well, it's prospecting, but you're also saving yourself a bunch of time. Like Beth said, if they are working with another agent, you're not allowed to poach them. It's an ethics issue. So I asked them several different ways to find out if they're working with somebody, because sometimes they're not thinking straight. They're trying to kind of ignore you while they're looking at the house, right? So by trying to get them to talk to me, or by asking them in multiple different ways, are you working with somebody? How did you hear about the open house? Things like that. I can find out if there's one way I can ask it where they say, yeah, actually my agent is Beth. And I'm like, all right, great. Here's the house, 3-bed, 2-bath house. If you have any questions, come talk to me. Otherwise, bye-bye. I'm not going to even try.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
How about if, let's say somebody said that he has an agent, but I still give him a business card, and just in case if something, doesn't, go right, so you can have always plan B.
The way that you present that card to the client can be the issue if there is an issue. I would usually say, here's my card, please pass it along to your agent. If they have any questions about the house, or if you want to write an offer, have them get in touch with me.
Okay, so I still can give card, yeah?
Yeah, I would talk to Phil just to make sure. And I don't see anything wrong with that, as long as you're not asking them for their business, if they're
Yes.
working with somebody.
Yes, not asking, just to give them in case, in the future, or maybe give somebody else, or maybe if something doesn't work the way he or she wants to, so she can call. Yeah, okay.
Sure. I would also still talk with Phil.
Mhm.
I like to cover my assets as well. What ahas do you have about hosting open houses? Just kind of getting into the swing of things. No ahas.
For me, the neighbors, I always wonder why people really focus on the whole day. I know they host like little, whatever.
Like neighborhood gatherings.
Neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I never thought that they could actually get across.
Yeah, absolutely. You have somebody who walks in and they're, thinking about listing and you happen to be there. You can absolutely get the listing that way. What else? I love ahas. They make me happy. You guys are making me sad because I'm not getting any ahas.
Having limited beliefs can really hold you up from moving forward in real estate.
Absolutely. Has anybody ever heard the saying, perfection is the enemy to progress? Anybody want to think about that or talk about that? When you try to be so prepared that you're perfect or you're going to be the best version of yourself that you can be, sometimes it holds you back because you're trying to get to be too professional. You're going to have to mess up at some point. So just jump in, fail forward, and fail often. If you're trying to be perfect, limiting beliefs are usually because you feel like you're not perfect or good enough. You can absolutely slow yourself down. I love that, Latrice. Let's talk a little bit about some best practices for open houses. You guys remember if you guys were in session 1, which I know you said you missed, but if some of you guys have been in session 1, or if you've heard of some of the 6 personal perspectives before, one of them is going from E to P, going from entrepreneurial, where you just kind of do things because it feels good or sounds good, to going purposeful. So a lot of the best practices for open houses is being purposeful around what you're doing there, being purposeful around your planning. Setting goals. It's important to set goals that are achievable and also a little bit difficult, right? Because you want to get the most out of what you're doing at an open house. What's a goal that we could set for an open house?
Try to get at least one appointment.
Try to get at least one appointment. That's a great goal. What's another goal that we could set at an open house?
Expand your database.
Expand your database. Love it. How can we make that expand your database purposeful?
Make the sign.
Well,
Yeah, you gotta know how to deliver it
I love it. And how can we make the sign-in purposeful?
by saying, oh, you know, like I say, like how I say and how it's worked for me very well is once you're leaving, I say, oh, before you leave, you please just sign in so somebody knows I'm working today. Like,
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's take that list of 20 names and make it purposeful. Let's pretend everybody who walks into your open house comes in and signs in.
Yeah.
What's a purposeful person sign in?
Who's ready to move.
One who's ready, willing, and able, or any combination of the 3, and not already working with somebody. I'll still have somebody sign in, but I'll put a little asterisk next to their name after they leave because I know that they're working with somebody. And I'll actually ask them, who is your agent? What's their name? Do you know their information or do you have a card from them? Because I will call the agent and follow up with the agent and say, hey, what did your client think about the house? Not because I'm checking, like I'm not fact checking them. I believe that they're working with an agent, especially if they have the agent's card. However, if I'm working with an agent to host their listing open, I want to be able to give them feedback. Right? Oh, I had a client come in. Her name was Mitra. She was already working with an agent. The agent's name was Joanne. She said that the house was a little bit too big for what she was looking for because she wanted a 2-in-1. That's what she thought this was. But when she came in, she realized it was a 4-in-2. Because the agent's trying to sell their house. They want as much good feedback as they can get. I might even say Mitra walked in. She said she smelled an odor, like it smelled musty in here. And that turned her off almost immediately. So she didn't really stay that long. The agent might go and investigate that. Talk to the seller and say, hey, a couple of people have said there's a little bit of a musty odor. Do you have any known leaks? Maybe we should get a plumber out to just do a quick check, right? You're actually helping. So if I can get agent information, again, it's not to check up on the client. It's legit to get feedback from them. Because what the client's not going to tell you that. You're the one at the open house. They're gonna be nice and they're gonna be like, oh, the house is beautiful. Oh, it's just out of my price range, or whatever the case may be. And they're just gonna walk out. Then they're gonna go to their agent and be like, wow, that place sucked. That agent was a jerk. They're not gonna say that, but you get what I'm saying, right? They're gonna be honest with their agent, whereas they're not gonna be super honest with the person they think is the listing agent. Because if you're hosting the open house, they think you're the listing agent. 9 times out of 10. What's another goal that might be purposeful to set at an open house? Yeah,
I have a question. So
sure.
what if they ask you if you're the listing agent?
Say no, unless you are.
And then what do you say what's your like follow-up to that? What, explaining why you're
I just
there?
walk away from them. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I usually just say, yeah, no, I'm not the listing agent, but I do work with them. Did you have any specific questions about the house that I can answer for you? Just keep it professional. And if they specifically want to talk to the listing agent, I just say, what do you think the benefit is in talking to the listing agent? A lot of times they'll be like, oh, well, I think I can get a deal on the house or something like that. And I'll be like, oh, great. Did you realize that the listing agent represents the seller? They're not going to be looking out for your best interests. It's actually better for you to work with a different agent than the listing agent, because then you have representation that is separate than the seller's representation. It's just the truth. I've never had anybody actually tell me that they want to just talk to the listing agent, though. Actually, I've had a couple people come in and ask me, are you the listing agent when I was? And then they've been like, okay, great. Do you have any agents that you can refer us to? Because they already knew that they don't want to be working directly with the listing agent. And I actually won't do a dual listing. I won't take a buyer if I'm listing the house. I'll follow up with them, find them a different house, but I will not sell them that house. Yep.
So let's say, they say, oh, yeah, you're the listing agent, they say, oh, yeah, I wanna work with you, say, oh, you say, well, you gotta say no. You refer them to another agent, so you would get a referral fee, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. And actually what I'll do sometimes, if I have a listing, I'll have mentees come and host my listing with me and give the mentees all the buyer rates. So I'm just trying to sell the house at that point. And if you're willing to come and sit in the open house, I know all the information about the open house or about the house. I'll be giving you that information, or you'll have to do the research on your own to come in and host the open house as well, but I'm there. That goes back to not feeling safe at the open house. I'm there to support. If it's my listing, I feel like I need to be there. But every agent does things different. So that's just how I do it. Let's talk a little bit about picking the house. We started kind of getting into this when we were talking about actually hosting an open house. How can we be purposeful about picking a house? You already had a great example. Not wanting to drive. I want to stay on my farm. I want to stay in my local area.
Well, still,
Yeah, I want to stay, keep my name. Sorry, I keep talking over you. What's another good reason or a good way to be purposeful around an open house?
I like to do open, if I have a listing, I like to do open houses that are comparable, well, not, that are in the same area as my listing, so that I can just send people over to my house.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that, but be careful because that could also be steering, which you don't
Oh,
necessarily.
is it? Oh my God, you guys don't listen to that. Take it back, take it back.
I just said it could be. Now, if you're hosting an open house and you're saying, don't buy this house, go buy mine.
No. It's more around like, oh, hey, have you seen this home? It's
Yep.
open if you wanted to pop by.
Sure, you can absolutely do that. Especially if they're not interested in the house that you're currently holding open. Oh, you're 123 Main Street. Oh, this is a 3 and 2 and you're looking for something a little bit bigger? Great. 456 Anywhere Road is just up the street. It's also open today. Or I can meet you there after the open house and let you in. Great strategy. What's another reason or another way to be purposeful around picking the open house? What if you want to be a luxury agent? What if you want your price point to be 1.2? Do you want to take the 750K listing? Don't everybody answer at once. It's just a hypothetical question. But if you're trying to target a particular price point, you may not want to take some of the open houses that are offered that are lower or too high. Because some people don't want to help people who are luxury because you just don't want to deal with the people who may have a little bit more money and may be a little bit more.
High demand.
Yeah, I'm just.
You're also more real estate savvy, so you really need to know your stuff. stuff at that level.
I'm gonna say they're not. Not necessarily. I'm gonna say they're all about the same as people who are buying in the lower ranges. The problem is they tend to expect more. So if you don't want to be that, if you don't want to be a therapist to your clients to that level, especially when they're buying like a $2 million home, they want the house to be perfect. You're gonna have a lot of discussions about things that are found on reports. Maybe they don't want to deal with that. Right? Love it. Before you host your open house, prepare a list of questions that you think you may be asked. And practice your conversation starters. Some questions you might face will test your knowledge of the house and your market. Potential clients might ask why the house is for sale, when the home was last renovated, if the home has any structural issues, and how long the house has been on the market. What other questions do you think visitors might ask at an open house? And these can also be limiting beliefs, by the way, because you can be like, oh, I don't know the answer to that. I don't want them to ask that. What are some questions that you think might be asked?
How are the schools in this area?
Yeah, how are the schools in the area? That's absolutely a question that gets asked. What else?
Safe neighborhood.
Is it a
Is-
safe neighborhood?
There any inspection has been done?
Yep, have any inspections been done? Do you have the inspection reports? Is there any section 1? Does everybody in here know what section 1 is? Section 1, section 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
don't,
Perfect. We're not going to go into it on this class, but go Google it. Catherine, did you have something?
Oh, I was gonna say what I hear a lot these days is like, why is this house still on the market? Like, basically, what's wrong with it? Like, why has it been sitting here for 60+ days? Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yep, that's a great question. That's a great question that gets asked, especially with what the market is doing right now. Everything's sitting on the market, and that could be your response. You just be like, I'm curious, have you seen anything else flying off the shelves recently? Yeah, 60 days ago, things still were. Market shifted a little bit. Have you heard about interest rates? They're a little bit higher. Anyway, that could be a whole nother conversation. One of the strategies for some of those questions that you might not be super savvy about, like for me, I hate talking money. I do not want to talk to you about a loan. I do not want to tell you what I think your payments are going to be. I just don't know that well. I won't answer the questions. I'll say, have you talked to a lender? What might be a great strategy to be purposeful at an open house if you feel the same way that I do?
Have a lender name and number ready.
Have a lender name and number ready. That's a great option.
Or have a lender with you.
Have a lender with you. Partner with a lender. Call one of the lenders that you work with all the time and say, hey, I'm hosting an open house, 123 Main Street. You want to come and co-host it with me? What else does that provide you? Extra layer of security. You got somebody else who's in the open house with you. Love it. We're going to talk a little bit about the best practice question of, do we have people sign in as soon as they walk in? Do we have them sign in as they're walking out? Do we have them sign in at all? If they don't want to work with us, fine. If they do, they're going to ask us to work with us. What are your all's thoughts on that? Sign in when they come in, okay?
I do want to go out.
You do when they go out? Mm-hmm.
Whoopsies.
No, you're good, Catherine.
I really only ask for their info if they are actually a potential client and if we're jiving, and definitely not when they first walk in. Like, my goal when they first walk in is just like rapport. Like, do you
Right.
like me? Do you want to talk to me? And then I only ask if I'm like, this is gonna work out for us potentially.
Okay. Fair enough. There's no right answer. The only wrong answer is don't have them sign in at all. You have to ask for the business. If you feel more comfortable asking them as they're walking out, great, do it that way. I personally have them sign in as soon as they come in. And if they don't sign in, I won't let them see the house. It's one of the requirements to come into my open houses. Why do you think that I do that? It's not to capture leads. Yes,
Because-
that's a byproduct, but
Yeah, because, this is solar song, and they have to know who comes in. And,
what happens if something goes missing?
Yeah, personal safety. Well,
Personal safety? Absolutely. What else am I doing? It's a form of pre-qualification. If someone's not a serious buyer or a serious seller, they're not gonna sign in. They don't wanna give you their information. You're weeding out some of the people who just kind of wanna breeze through the open house, maybe case the joint to come back later after the open house is closed. So there's no right answer, but it's really about what you feel.
So how would you address it? Let's say, you're hosting it, I
Yeah.
come in, I'm like, I walk in, and then how would you say?
Good afternoon, welcome to the open house. This is 123 Main Street. If you wouldn't mind signing in, my seller requires all people who visit the open house to sign in.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Then I'm gonna have to ask you to step out of the open house because I can't let you in because my seller has instructed me not to let anybody in who hasn't signed in.
Can you say it back?
Not if my seller hasn't told me that. However, I coach my sellers, that is what they want to tell me.
Yes, I have a question, but
Yeah.
but it doesn't guarantee that they will write truthful information. You know,
Can't control that, but it does, it is one step in the process of having them validate that they are actually a serious person.
Mhm.
Now, what I'll do, is I'll actually text them while they're at the open house. Whatever they put on the thing. I won't email them. I don't care about the email address. I'll text them. If I hear their phone go off, or if they see them check their watch or whatever, I'll be like, all right, cool, valid information. And I just send them a business card. I just have a digital business card on my phone. I just say, hey, here's your business card.
And if they gave you a wrong number, you approach them?
I will.
Oh, you will?
I'll say, hey, I just tried texting you my business card and it didn't go through. Could you put a legit number down?
Wow,
I will 100% call them out on their bullshit.
Wow, because I've been to open house, nobody did that to me.
Not very many agents do, but that's how I run my open house. And that's actually a value proposition when I'm going in on a listing appointment. I say, you're gonna know the names and phone numbers of every person who comes into this open house.
Wait, question. Why are you asking a second time for their information? Like the first time they didn't give you their information is basically them saying like, I don't actually want to work with you, right? Like if I
Sure.
ask someone for their info and they say no, I just assume that they don't want to work with me. Cause like,
Because
am I
I-
always gonna be pulling information from them?
Yes, until they give me valid information, because that is a requirement to attend one of my open houses.
Okay, I see.
It's a standard that I've set, and I don't go back on my standards. If I've told my seller that I'm gonna get accurate information for everyone that's coming through their house, I'm gonna get accurate information for everyone that's gonna come through their house. Or I'm gonna do as much as I can to make sure I get that information. And if they won't give me the information, I will escort them out of the open house. I will say, I need a valid number because my seller requires that information. And I will escort them to the door. Good questions. I love it. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do that. That's just how I run my business. I'm professional, and when I'm in an open house, I am not the happy-go-lucky person that you all know in here. I'll kick your ass if you're not playing by my rules.
so what they can do if you don't allow them to get in the house?
Nothing.
Can they sue you or anything?
No. That's a requirement to attend my open house. My seller requires it. If you're not going to do it, you're not abiding by what the seller wants. I don't want to work with you. Get out.
Hmm.
They don't have a right to be in the house. I have the right to refuse service to anybody I feel like. And if you're not going to sign my sheet, you're not coming into the open house.
Right, but if they're already working with an agent.
You still have to sign in because I still want to follow up with you and get information about the open house.
No, I mean like on a different day, whatever. If they're working with an agent, they can reach out to their agent and say, hey, can you show me the house?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, if somebody walks up and says, hey, I'm already working with an agent, great, write their name down on the open house sheet.
Hmm.
Give me their number, give me their card. You don't have to sign in if you have an agent card. I just need somebody that I can contact about your visit to this open house so that I can tell my client, a client came in, they're represented by Mitra. Mitra, I called her, she gave me feedback from the client, she said that they thought the house was too big. whatever the case may be. Paper trail. I want to know where everybody's coming from.
But not a lot of people carry their agent card.
Oops, I hope you have your agent's number, or please write down your number and name so that I can call you later and get information from you about your agent when you get home and have their card in front of you. You see what I'm doing here? I need some way to contact you or your agent, or you're not coming in. Period. Y'all can come up with as many objections as you want. I'm still going to make you sign into my open house, all right? That's how I run my business. If you don't want to run your business that way, I'm not telling you that you have to. That's just how I do it because that's how I feel my standard needs to be.
Yeah, I stopped by one open house and to let get a feel. And normally I do it before I become an agent, but when then I want to get more experience. How another agent do. She let me sign into her sheet too, but I just give her my email.
That's fine. And I just need some way to contact you. And if I'm an agent and I go to an open house because maybe I have a client who's interested in it, first thing I do is hand my card over to the agent. I'm not trying to, I'm being sneaky. I'm not going to sign into your, I don't do that. Like, why would you? That's so stupid. Why would you do that? Show up to the open house. Hi, I'm Robert Sogomonian with Keller Williams. I'm here on behalf of my clients. I'm taking a look at your house. I'll even walk in if I'm not there on behalf of the client. I just want to see what this 8-story house looks like. Hi, I'm Robert with Keller Williams. I just want to see what the house looks like because it looks really cool. It's professional, right? We're not trying to, there's a reason we have a worse rep than lawyers. And it's because a lot of agents are not professional.
Yeah, some of them don't even have a sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
So
It's strange. I don't know how they're running their business. I don't get it. Anyway, any other questions or objections? I'd love to handle them.
A small question. If somebody enters the house and then say, I'm going to buy it. So what do you do?
Great. Are you currently working with an agent?
Yes.
Great. Go talk to your agent. They can write an offer to the listing agent because I am not the listing agent in this house. Or if I am the listing agent, great. Go talk to your agent. They can send me an offer in whenever you guys are ready to submit it. Offers are due by Friday.
Okay.
If
One
you say
thing-
no, I'm going to say, great. Let me refer you to another agent in my office. I don't handle buyers on my listings. Let me explain to you why. Or I'll even ask them, do you know why I wouldn't do that? Because I want you to be represented by your best interests. I don't want to be representing, I don't want to pretend like I'm representing your best interests because I'm here for the seller. Sorry, whoever I cut off online.
Oh, I just had so one thing I've noticed is when they write their name on the sign-in sheet, gosh, I run into like some very sloppy writing that there's like a lot going on. And then I go back to try to follow up and some of like the numbers are really weird or like the email is just like very sloppy. So like, how do you handle that?
Like I said, if I'm getting numbers, I will text them while they're there. I'll
Right
text
then
them.
and there. Okay.
Yep. I'll just say, hey, thank you for signing in. I'm going to text you a digital version of my business card. I've had people say, oh, I didn't give you my number. I'll be like, great, could you put your real number down?
Also, there's an app, but I know some agents use, like they take their little iPad, and it's very easy to use. You just hand that over.
Open Home Pro.
Yes.
Yep, Open Home Pro is a great solution. Command can do it. You can build a landing page for your open house.
Oh, and so you know how you said that you want to represent the buyer when listing. But what if that buyer were to offer exactly what the seller wanted or more?
There's a disclosure that you have to give to all buyers and sellers called the possible representation of both buyer and seller. Make sure that they understand what that means. If they're like totally cool with the fact that you don't give a shit about what they're doing and they want to still write an offer, great, run it by Phil still.
I have a question. What's the earliest time you can do a open house? The earliest time?
Depends on the city. Just check and see what their ordinances are.
Mhm.
During the week, I mean, people do them during the week 10 to 1. Some people do them on the weekends 10 to 1. Some people do them 5 to 7.
Can you do it like at 6 in the morning?
I probably not because of noise. But if we go back to being purposeful, who's going to be awake to do who's going to be awake to attend an open house at 6 a.m? Not very many people. So is that going to be the best use of your time? Most agents try to target times where clients are going to be most likely to come into the open house.
Yeah, but before work actually is good time probably. I don't know.
I mean, again, check with the city, see what they got. A
Okay.
lot of cities won't let people do any kind of noise producing activity before 7 or 8 because other people are sleeping.
Mhm.
And if you got like a line of, let's just say hypothetically, you have a line of cars in front of the house, that can be pretty noisy and wake a bunch of people up.
Mhm.
Speaking of times, picking the times. The time you choose for an open house is important. When you know your market well and have connected with it, picking the right time the open house should be simple. Again, we just kind of follow the industry standards. Everybody in this area knows when the open houses are. Usually 10 to 1 during the week. Sometimes it's just like a weekend, 1 to 4. 1 to 4 on the weekends are generally normal. And you can also do them from like 5 to 7. Those are kind of like the time blocks that people tend to pick to do open houses. Earlier is not necessarily better because people are trying to beat the commute. Like, I don't know. You could, as long as the city allows it, you could try it, but I wouldn't spend too much time on it if you're not getting the results that you're looking for. Open houses have been known to work in any market at all dates and times, but know your market so that you can try to drive the most traffic through your open house, because that's the point, right? Picking the time for your open house goes hand in hand with picking the theme. If you're having your open house on a Sunday during football season, have the game on the TV. When people walk in, especially if, let's say, it's a husband and one of them doesn't really care about buying the house, they're going to go and like watch the TV. While the other one is actually going to talk to you about, oh, wow, this kitchen is awesome. Where are the bedrooms? Or maybe they've got a kid and the kid just sees something moving on the TV. Great. You have a daycare while your potential clients can go walk around the open house, right? What's another thing you can do to kind of theme your open house, especially since we're coming into the holidays? Christmas music and cookies. Cookies. Let's get purposeful around cookies. You all know I like cookies.
Oh, well, you know that.
I know, right?
No.
Baking the cookies at the open house, if the seller / listing agent lets you.
Oldest trick in the book.
100%. What about having a pumpkin pie ready to go? You show up at the open house, throw it in the oven 30 minutes before it cooks. The house smells like pumpkin spice. It is a genius level move. People walk in and they just go, oh, wow, it smells so good in here. How about bacon? Should you cook bacon in an open house? Don't do it. It's bad. I've done it. No, I haven't. I'm kidding, but that was a good joke. Trying to see if you guys are awake.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you sell any houses when you did open house?
I have never sold the house that I was sitting in except for the listings that I've had. Usually, when I host an open house, the people who come into the open house end up buying something else if they're clients of mine. They just happen to be out looking, and this is just one of the houses that they're going through.
But
Then
do
when
you
they
know,
start working, oops, sorry.
yeah, but do you know anybody who actually sold the house while hosting the open house?
Yeah, David DeLue, I think, has sold several where he's been sitting in the open house. A client walked in, he sold in that house. It
How
happens.
did you do it? How did you do it? Did you do
That's
something?
a great question for David. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not David.
Mhm.
Now, remember, you're not trying to sell somebody the house. They have to like the house before they're going to buy it.
Mhm.
So it has to be something that they're going to walk into and fall in love with, or at least feel like it's okay.
Mhm.
Or maybe they're an investor and you happen to be hosting a fixer. Like that's another way where it's like, okay, cool. We could probably get this for a little bit of a deal because it's a fixer. Work with me. But don't try to oversell the open house because then you just sound salesy and people tend to not want to work with you. Why don't people tend to host open houses on Saturdays? I don't know if you all have noticed, but there's almost always a Sunday open house. sometimes, like Renee White, almost never hosts a Saturday open house. If you guys have been listening to what some of the agents have been saying, we'll ask, how many people did you have through? And they'll say like 0 on Sunday, but we had 5 on Saturday. I'm sorry, 0 on Saturday, but 5 on Sunday. Why might that be?
Because a lot of people doing stuff with that kid on Saturday.
Yeah, kid stuff on Saturdays. So also be purposeful around that. If you want the most traffic through your open houses, Sundays tend to work best. Tend to, not always.
Your open houses can be longer than just the 3-hour time.
Oh yeah, sure. And again, just make sure that that is purposeful. If you have a reason to do it, great. If you're there and make sure that you set the expectation with the seller or the listing agent, make sure that they're okay with you hosting a longer open house. What would be a disadvantage to having a longer time period for an open house? More chances for something to go wrong. More chances for that dangerous person to come in through the door because it's not a normal open house time. Does that make sense? If they know that people generally tend to host open houses 1 to 4 and you're there at 11, they know that nobody's going to show up at that house generally for another 2 hours. So be careful around those, but there's nothing that's stopping it.
I have a question. What are some of the things that I should never say in open house to the customers?
This house is terrible, don't buy it.
No, that's the obvious, but anything else?
Don't trash talk other agents. Especially if they're working with somebody, don't say, oh, you're working with Mitra, she's terrible. Why are you working with her? That is an ethics issue. Just make sure that you're being ethical.
Did you say the price is too high?
I would not say the price is too high. If they ask you, I would say, and this is if you believe it, yeah, I think we might be able to come in a little bit under asking. Have evidence for why you're saying that though. If you know that in that market, number one, let's say the house has been on for 60, 70 days or whatever, and you're like, all right, cool, it's been on the market for a while. Maybe you've checked and a couple of other comps have sold 50,000 under, 100,000 under. You have evidence. So when they say, do you think the house is overpriced? You can say, I think we could probably put in an offer a couple 100,000 under, right? Here's why.
But if you're not the listing agent, you would never offer that.
If I'm not the listing agent, I'm a buyer's agent. So yes, I would offer that.
You would offer, oh, okay.
If I'm the listing agent, I can't say that for my sellers because I'm representing the seller, not the buyer, right? But if I'm hosting the open house, I just want a client and I just want to get the house sold. Now, if the house is priced right, and I say, yes, I think the house is overpriced, you're not being a good agent. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. That listing agent may never let you host their open house again. However, if it's a buyer and they come in and they say, hey, I think that I want to put in an offer on this house, let's say it's listed at $1 million, you know that everything else in the market has been selling for 900,000, and they say, hey, I think I want to come in at like 890. Yeah, let's sit down after the open house. We can talk a little bit about that and I'll write the offer up for you. That makes sense. If we're in the market like we were in just a couple months ago and they say, yeah, I want to put in an offer at 890 and you're in $1 million home, you know it's going to sell for 1.2. It's an opportunity to educate them. It's a conversation piece. Hey, you know what? That's a great offer. Think about this from the seller's perspective. They've listed it at $1 million because they want multiple offers, which I'm expecting they're going to get. If you're the lowest offer, do you think they're even going to counter you? Yes, I do, because why wouldn't they counter every offer? Think of it from the seller point of view. You got your house listed at $1 million and somebody's offering you 890 in a market where everything is selling like hotcakes. Would you accept an offer? Would you even entertain that if you have 15 other offers to look at? If they say yes, I would entertain it. All right, great. Enjoy working with your next agent. Because I'm not the agent for you, right? Qualify your business. Don't work with people who aren't going to work out. What are some of the benefits of hosting the open house at the same time as all of the other open houses? I like the idea of hosting it outside of the time frame because you're a little bit different. However, there are benefits to hosting open houses during when everybody else is hosting them. One of them is the safety factor. You know that there are probably going to be other people touring at that same time.
Yeah.
Even not the safety factor. That's when everybody's out looking. You're gonna have the most traffic during open house times. What's another one?
Wait, what's the question? Why would you host an open house when everyone else is hosting an open house?
Yep, what's a benefit to hosting
Oh.
an open house at the same time that all of the other open houses are open?
Oh, you can just like play off of other people's marketing. So everyone's marketing that there's an open house and I'm gonna put my little sign up and you're already in the area looking at one house and like, why wouldn't you stop at my house?
100%. You can also leverage the fact that there are probably already signs pointing in your direction. So instead of putting out 10 signs, you might put out those same 10 signs, but you might put them out a little bit farther. Because you notice as you're driving, oh, this corner already has 2 signs pointing my direction. Great. I'm gonna go see the next corner. I can put my sign here because they ran out of signs. So you're actually kind of helping everybody. And you're getting the most chance to get business for yourself. What is a benefit of hosting an open house during a non-traditional time? Less competition. Yep, less agents out there.
More people can come.
More people can come directly to yours. Absolutely. We're going to say that that's similar to less competition. Actually, Alexander, you said something earlier that made a lot of sense. If it's like during a commute time that nobody, like maybe it's before work if you can. Maybe it's during a time when it's convenient for them because they just happen to have Wednesdays off. A lot of agents have started doing like midweek open houses because they start getting people who have those weird off days in the middle of the week. They'll still do them. Oh, sorry.
I said the more I think the weirdest it is, the more people you will have probably. You know.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think.
It just depends on who's got that time off.
Mhm.
Prepare statistics. If you've been practicing connecting with and knowing your market, then gathering the neighborhood stats for your open house should be fairly fast. You can hop into the MLS, you can take a look at what's going on in the neighborhood, you can pull past solds. You don't need very many, just get a couple of comps. There's a couple of things that are useful to know before hosting the open house, what the schools are, what they're rated on websites, like the school rating websites. I would avoid saying this is a bad school district or this is a bad school. I would generally tend to just point them to the data and say, hey, on ratemyschool.com, this has got an 80% or an 80 rating out of 100 or a 60 or a whatever. Just give them the facts. Don't give them your opinion because then that could be negatively construed. Know what recreation is nearby. Are you doing an open house over by Lime Ridge Open Space? That's great information for them, especially if it's somebody who walks in who's super active and they're like, I want to know where all the running trails are. Hey, you know what? We're right at Lime Ridge. It's awesome. Got beautiful views when the sun's setting. It is just, you see why they call it the Golden State, right? No traffic in commute times. Somebody's trying to live out in Clayton and they're like, yes, my cousin told me it's only 20 minutes to San Francisco from here. I mean, you can ask them, oh, does your cousin drive 120 miles an hour with no traffic? Maybe they can make it in 20 minutes. Very unlikely, even doing that. And no local employment information. If they're planning on working for Apple and they're thinking about living in Tracy, Apple stopped doing remote work, so they're going to have to drive that. Know that. Because remember, you're here as a fiduciary for your client. Selling houses is just kind of our side gig, right? We want to be doing the best we can for our clients. And be safe. Safety is of utmost importance. If you see any of the Women's Council of Realtors just had a special gathering, I'm going to say, of, let me step back and rephrase that. They just had a special event where they had a private investigator slash self-defense expert talk about how you can keep yourself safe. Men, women, small statured agents versus tall statured agents, because there's different complications depending on what you are. And so he has a lot of experience with self-defense. He has a lot of experience with explaining how you can do things like use your phone as a weapon, how you can just keep people on speed dial, make sure that people know that you're going to be checking in every half hour, etc. He goes through a lot of that stuff. Go to those seminars. There's great value there. Partner with lenders, partner with other agents. Hey, you take all the even people who come in, I'm going to take all the odd people that come in. That's how we'll split the leads up. We'll alternate. If it happens that they have better rapport with you, you get them. If it feels like they have better rapport with me, I'll follow up with them. Whatever the case may be. Or switch off on open houses. Hey, Mitra, I'm going to do an open house with you. This one, you get all the leads. Next week, we're going to do one, or maybe Saturday, you get all the leads. Sunday, I'll take all the leads. Now I'm taking the leads on the day that I get more traffic, see what I did there, but you know, it makes sense.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's some of the problems that the agents have in open houses?
Be a little bit more specific.
Well, what's the, let's say, what kind of things may happen that the agent did not do properly?
That the agent didn't do properly?
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit. That's actually part of a further part in this. Right now, we're just going to kind of focus on safety.
What happens
Okay.
if unruly person that comes in becomes unruly, disrespectful?
Yeah, absolutely. You might have somebody who comes in. I've actually heard stories of like drug addicts walking into open houses, not even knowing they're in an open house. They're just flying high on something and they're a hazard. One thing, you can always call 911. You can also call any other agents you know who might be nearby just to come in. You got a second body in there to at least be a witness to what's going on. Yeah, let the professionals deal with that. We're not law enforcement.
Should the agent at any time leave the house?
Yeah, yes. If you feel like you're in danger, leave and call 911. Get into a public space. 100%.
Can you take friends or family?
To an open house? Like to sit with you?
To sit with you, just for safety.
Sure.
Yeah.
They can't give real estate advice,
Right.
but they can sit there and they're a visitor. Yeah. Beth, do you have a question?
Well, Deborah had said that she had a situation once where she stepped outside and called her son and then shut down the open house.
Yep. And then she called the other agent immediately and said, hey, here's the situation. So the situation that Deb was talking about, she was literally standing at the front door, and all of a sudden somebody who had not come in through the front door came in through the garage. The garage door was closed. There was no exterior door at the garage door. So where did this person come from? Freaked her out a little bit, and he was acting a little weird. So she called her son immediately, left the open house, kicked him out. Her son showed up, she said, in like 5 seconds. And the dude was very, very weird when he got into his car and drove off. So she's just like, I don't feel safe anymore. I'm cutting this. We're done. Call the other agent. The other agent was like, yep, no problem. You can absolutely, I mean, it's your open house. If you don't feel safe, GTFO. Call somebody, have somebody come in. RTFM, read the manual. GTFO, get out. Okay.
But if you're going to shut it down, you should call the agent and tell them to shut it down, right?
Yeah, you just say, hey, you know what? This is what happened. I'm no longer at the open house. If you have, I mean, if you don't feel safe and an agent gives you grief for leaving the open house, I wouldn't want to do business with them anymore. I wouldn't want to host their open houses anymore. Most agents will understand. Park in the street. Don't park in the driveway. Why?
Because let's say, you can't, like, there's really no room to park in the street. I remember this example, I think it was Joe, he was telling us that, I think he owned an open house and like, kind of like in a mound type area, you know, the street's going no straight, right? And so it's like, if he said it means parking, go walk down and do it, because I mean, if a leak drives by, like, oh, there's no parking.
Yep, that's one of the reasons.
Also for
If
safety.
Parks behind you, then you can't get out.
That's exactly what I was going for. And I'm sure that's what Mitra was just about to say. Yes, you're absolutely right. If a client can't park in the driveway, they're probably just gonna end, there's no parking on the street, they're just gonna leave. And from a safety standpoint, you don't want to be blocked in. You want to be able to get to your car and be able to get out. Don't always park in front of the house. Sometimes park around the corner. They're less likely to say, oh, that's their car. Right? It's important to check all the entrances and exits before the open house and have a fully charged cell phone and usually a battery backup just in case. Because I know I set my cell phone down sometimes with the screen on, it doesn't auto shut off, and the next thing I know, I've got like 10% battery. Agents may be using their cell phones to connect with clients on their apps, so a full charge is necessary. Also, when you show a potential client through the house, let them walk ahead of you. I always let the client go first. Number one, courtesy, and I'm a gentleman. But number two, I've got control. I can see what they're doing. I can see where they're going. They're not going to do a fast one on me, especially in an open house where maybe I don't know the client. Somebody walks in, they're like, oh, this is awesome. Give me the tour. I'll be like, great. Why don't you start walking down this way?
So is it a difference when you house is staged versus the owners are occupants of the house as to how much freedom you give potential clients?
If I'm the listing agent, I will make sure that my sellers have any valuables put away. If I am showing a house that I'm not the listing agent, I will always get there. I can usually get an open house about an hour and a half early, set my signs out, get to the house about an hour early. I do a walkthrough of the house to see if there's anything valuable out. And then I make sure that I'm in the vicinity of those rooms. Because I just want, and I'll also text the listing agent and say, hey, there's a bunch of jewelry out on the countertop in the bathroom, and master bathroom, the primary bathroom. I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to them. And then I'll kind of sit in that area if I have clients come in. If they start walking that direction, I'll just kind of follow them over to the bathroom, just so that they know that I'm there. Right? So yes, absolutely.
But there's multiple people walking the house same time, you can't follow everybody.
Nope, I'll post myself nearest the most valuable thing or things. Usually that hasn't really been an issue for me. If I'm hosting an open house, the house is usually fairly buttoned up by the buyer or the seller. So you don't usually have to worry about that. But if I notice that there's something that maybe it's a little, jewelry case that would be easy to toss out a window. I make note of that mental note and I kind of keep an eye.
So you have a couple of people walking at the same time, like you said, how we approach them in the same time, or who go first?
First person to walk in gets my attention first.
Okay.
And they're all signing in. So if they have to line up, they're lining up. And then I'll just greet the first person who comes in. I'll be like, while I'm greeting them, why don't you guys go ahead and sign in? Blah, 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 blah. Why don't you guys walk this way? This is do they go clockwise and kind of guide the flow. Right?
So you give every single person a tour, or do you just let them go see it?
Again, I'll let them kind of start browsing on their own because I don't want to handhold them. I want them to feel like they're in their own house, just in case they really like it. I will keep an eye on where they're going, and if they're going near valuable stuff, I will start kind of flowing with them towards the valuable stuff so that they know that I'm watching. But I'm not going to you wait by the door and then go do the tour and then come back. And then you, all right, sign in. All right, you guys wait by the door. And then, I'm not doing that. But everybody's signing in. And then I'm going to just, why don't you guys start this way and go ahead, the garage is this way, then you're gonna hit the kitchen, you're gonna come back around the hallway, there's the bedrooms down the hallway, and then follow upstairs. If you tell them kind of like what the flow is that you're expecting, they'll do it. Very rarely do they like just, oh, you want me to go that way? No, I'm going this way. They'll just be like, oh, cool, house, yay. It's really weird how much herd animals we are. You just kind of direct somebody one and they just kind of do it.
So when we do open house, it's better to close the door or open the door for safety issue.
Front door open.
Always front door open.
Depends. If it's super hot and the air's on, I'll close the door. Never lock.
Like, I mean, just close the door or leave it open at all times.
I will close the door and it depends on the situation. If it's a beautiful day like today, 70 something degrees outside, door's open. I want to breeze.
I'm just thinking about safety issue,
Sure.
like people can lock you in the house and you can.
Yeah, have the back door open too, unlocked. Think about
I have a
that.
quick-
Absolutely. Yep.
Question is, do you allow people to use restroom inside the house?
Yes. That being said, it's a little awkward if they really have to go. You know what I mean?
I'm just wondering, maybe they are outside there. They don't care about the, open house. They just get inside, put fake name and just use restroom.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it really depends. If they've been at the open house for a while and they're like, hey, do you mind if I use the restroom? I don't care.
Okay.
But if they're just like walking in and they're like doing this, either, hey, I'm gonna sign in. You mind if I use it? No. There's an AM PM up the street. There's an ARC over there.
Another question, do you allow the owner to be present there?
I do my best to not have the owner present. Reason being, the owner loves the house and they're gonna talk everyone's ear off as if they are hosting a party. And you want the potential buyer to come in and visualize themselves in the house with as little interference as possible.
Mhm.
If you have somebody sitting there going, oh yeah, and then we knocked down this wall and then we totally redid the kitchen, like that's impressive and great, but the buyer is gonna be like, great, this is your house. It's not my house. The buyer comes in and they're like, wow, this kitchen is awesome and open. They're making the emotional connection.
So let's say, you're a listing agent and the owner says, oh, do you mind if I'm there with you? Wow, how would you address that?
If the listing agent asks me, do I mind if they,
No, I read the listing agent. Like if you're the listing agent and the owner asks you like, oh, do you mind if I'm there? How would you address that?
I would say I would prefer you not be there because exactly what I just said about the buyers.
Okay.
I want the buyers to imagine themselves in the home. It usually is awkward when a seller is present.
Okay.
One last thing before you move off of
Yeah.
safety is that, when you leave an open house, you gotta make sure everything is locked up.
Yep.
If some people come by and, to your point, leave a window unlocked or open a back door or garage door, so they can come back later.
100%. When you're done with the open house, it usually takes me about an hour to wrap it up. That's before I leave to go pick up my signs. I check every door, I check every window. I make sure the garage is closed. I make sure the door from the garage to outside is locked because some people will unlock that. I'll turn all the lights off. And by the way, when you're hosting an open house, turn all the lights on. Doesn't matter if it's the middle of the day in the middle of summer, all the lights go on. And then when you leave, all the lights go off. Because people do, they'll come in and they'll case the joint. And they'll walk into a bedroom and just unlatch the window. Sometimes people walk in and they just want to see if the windows work. And they'll unlatch the window, slide it open and close, be like, yep, and then they'll just leave. Like no malice intended, but now you got an unlocked window. Check the back doors. Especially if you happen to have that last minute person who like runs in at the very end. They're usually the ones who unlock everything and you're just like, oh my gosh. So just double check, go and check everything, just make sure everything is buttoned back up. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's all, that's safety and also just making sure the house is secure when they leave. Ahas, any ahas about the best practices around open houses?
My aha is cookies and pumpkin.
Oh yeah, cookies and pumpkin pie. And lemonade in the middle of summer. Open your own lemonade stand in the open house. Yeah. Anything else? Other ahas?
So my first class was to aha.
Aha is something that triggered in your brain where like, ah, yeah. That's a great idea, or I'd never thought about it that way. Those are usually the ahas.
Or your policy about, your personal policy about having everybody sign in.
Mhm.
It's really drilled that into me at least. That really resonates with me. And I think I might say that for the seller security, we have everyone
Yep.
sign in.
And some people will get mad at you. It's like, you know what? I don't get it. I don't care. Get out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit easier for a guy to be able to have,
100%.
that kind of leverage over a potential, someone coming in the house.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. A woman doesn't have that kind of as much leverage to be able to be that aggressive.
But the woman can say, hey, you know what? I got the police on speed dial. You don't leave in 3 minutes, in 3 seconds. On the count of 3. 1, do I have to be your mom? 2, get the fuck out. 3, I'm calling the cops.
I can do that person, but I'm scared they're gonna sue me.
They can't sue you for kicking them out of a house. It's not theirs. It's not their house.
Okay.
They're a guest.
Especially when you host a $1 million house, people like.
Doesn't matter. Sign in.
Okay.
They can't do anything to you for not letting them into a house. It's a matter of safety. I see where you're coming from, and sign in. The difference between big and really big, nope, we're at prepare, prospect, and pursue. Yep. The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and your focus. Again, Mr. Cow came up with that one. Sorry that we got the video window up here. There we go. What do you guys think this means?
Priority.
What was that?
Priority.
Pie already? Yep. Making sure the pie is ready to go.
Priority.
And the pie.
Priority.
I gotta get the priority. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. And the pie. That's the joke. I'm trying to be too funny now.
Sorry, I was so scared about funny people.
I'm sorry. And it's not, you don't have to. That's just how I do it. If you're not comfortable doing it that way, then you run your own standard, whatever your standard is. Again, if you want to catch them on the way out, great, catch them on the way out. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. I just have my standard. I filter out a lot of business, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna have to move the video window. Prepare, prospect, and pursue. This is again going from E to P, being a little bit more purposeful about how we're running our open house. We're going to prepare for the open house. We're going to prospect while we're at the open house, and then we're going to pursue any leads that we feel are qualified, well qualified. I mean, you can pursue everything if you want. I'm going to spend most of my time on the people who I think are ready to buy. The ones who are ghosting me, I'll put them on a drip and just let the drip handle it. Eventually, they'll remember my name. And maybe when I call them during one of my normal quarterly calls, they'll say, oh yeah, now we're thinking about buying or selling. Great, now I'm gonna focus on them. Does that make sense? Most of the work for the open house is done before the day of the open house. So you should have your open houses lined up by like midweek before the open house. And then after you do all of your lead gen, let's say Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, I'm gonna start looking at the market. Thursday afternoon, I'm going to start putting together my flyers. Friday afternoon, I'm going to talk to the listing agent, just make sure everything is like squared away. We're still on for the weekend, etc. Saturday morning, I'm going to actually go and double check my market figures because sometimes they could change. Things might have gone pending in those 3 days, but I've done most of the work already to look at the market. So I'm just looking for changes, being a little bit more efficient with my time. That way I'm not freaking out the day of the open house. Oh God, what's the market doing? I already know. I just need to see what's changed. Prepare your mindset. I know it sounds super corny, but affirmations actually work. Wake up the day of the open house. do that dance in front of the mirror. Everybody who walks into the open house today is gonna sign with me. No one's gonna have an agent working with them. Do it. It totally pumps you up. Practice your conversations. Get ready for them. Think about the questions you're gonna get asked. I'm hosting a $1.2 million home. They're gonna ask me about the schools. Yeah, Clayton Valley High School. It's got an 80 rating on whatever the website is that I looked it up on. They're gonna ask me about the commute to the freeway. You know what? It's not the greatest commute. However, if you have a flexible schedule and you can leave a little bit earlier or a little bit later, it's not that bad. Be honest, but practice those. You're gonna find that the more you kind of like go over those things before the open house, the more confident you're gonna feel in the open house. And also practice the, I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out for you. That's the best conversation to have. Never give an answer that you're not sure of. If you don't know the answer, I don't know the answer to that. I can't tell you how many times I've said that to clients that I've closed with. They love me for it. Thank you for not lying to us. Thank you for not BSing us. Thank you for not embellishing. Like, these are some of the things my clients have said. Thanks for going and finding the answer and giving us the, like, just telling us what the answer is. It might have taken an hour. Okay. We got the right answer though. Here's a different schedule. Monday, select the house. Like, they're getting really, really ahead of themselves. I'm not even gonna say ahead of themselves. This is just really well prepared. In our office, a lot of agents don't even know what houses you're gonna, well, I guess now in this market they do. But in the past couple of months, who knew what was gonna be on the market from Monday to the weekend? Tuesday, post an online, hey, I'm gonna be at 123 Main Street, walk the neighborhood. Or not, if you're comfortable with that, invite the neighbors to the open house. It's awesome if you know that you're gonna be doing a pumpkin pie or cookies or lemonade or whatever. That can be part of your value proposition to the neighbors. Hey, we're having an open house this weekend, 123 Main Street. I am baking homemade cookies, my own recipe.
So what's the rule about food and drink or stuff that you want to do your open house? Because I don't know about like you, some place like you're not allowed to keep the food that no packaging, or I don't know. That's what I asked because
You're not acting as a food establishment, so I don't think it matters.
okay.
You're not selling food. It's just there.
Because before I work at a retail,
Mhm.
some places said you not give any food that no packaging to a customer.
Okay,
Like
put a
so-
disclaimer. I made this food. If you get sick, I'm not liable. I mean,
If they claim food poisoning, then you got a problem, right?
I mean, you could potentially.
Corona, right?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know the rule, that's.
I don't think
about-
there is a rule. Ask Phil if you're concerned. I'm happy to put cookies out. I don't care. You don't like my cookies and you get sick in the bathroom later, I know it wasn't me. It's not a good defense, but I know it wasn't me. Anyway, I don't think there, if you're concerned, ask Phil. I always check with the listing agent and I see if it's okay to have food in the house. Some listing agents, some sellers don't want that. So
Yeah.
always check first.
Because some owner doesn't want their house get messy or. dirty,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So we have to check with the listing agent.
Yep. And if you're the listing agent, check with the seller. Make sure that they're okay with it. Absolutely. Here are some common things that clients want to know. We already talked about this a little bit. Community and neighborhood information, any relocation information, first-time buyer specifics. If they're a first-time buyer, a lot of this stuff you can kind of just know and then just regurgitate. First-time home buyer stuff doesn't really change all that much. Mortgage information, again, in that case, I say, are you working with a lender? Talk to your lender. I hate doing the finance stuff. I'm not good at it. I don't want to give people inaccurate information. So I just say, who's your lender? Talk to them. Don't have one? Great, I can refer you to. Oh, that's if you're using Keller Mortgage or if you refer to Keller Mortgage, they're going to get a ABA disclosure that pops up. They just have to accept it. Prospect, build trust and rapport, provide value, capture information and quality leads. I do this in the reverse order. I capture the information first, because that's my standard. And then I provide value, and I will tell them anything that they want to know about the house that I know the answer to. And if I don't know the answer, I will tell them I don't know, and I will say, I will find out for you. What's your email address? Oh, it's on your sign-in sheet. Great, it's accurate. And then I will, in doing that, build trust and rapport. Greet everybody that comes in at the door. Engage in conversation. Be positive. Have you ever had an agent? Have you ever walked into an open house where the agent's sitting in the corner on his cell phone the whole time? I've done that. It's the worst feel. I mean, it's like, why are you even here? I've done that when lenders are in a house. And the lender's holding the house open because the agent walked out for whatever reason. Lender's in the corner, like doing whatever. I'm like, really? Be proactive. Engage with people.
Or sometimes it can go the other way where the people walking in are very like standoffish and they like, you could tell like they don't even want you to talk to them, you know? I felt like I kind of noticed that at one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the old question. Like if you walk into a Nordstrom's and somebody says, "Can I help you?" You're probably gonna say no, because it's just kind of weird to get that question when you walk into someplace for the first time. Same thing at open houses. But if you keep asking them questions, hey, what are you looking for? Is there anything I can help you with? How did you find the open house? They'll talk to you, and if they don't, fine. Let them walk through the open house and leave. Like, I don't want to work with somebody who's not going to be that friendly with me. But do your best. Know your team stats if you're on a team. If you're not on a team, know the market center stats, because you can use those as your team. Understand personality types. Anybody done a DISC profile? Know the difference between direct, the sociable people like me, the communicators and all that. I'm not an expert on DISC. Have a sign-in sheet. Use command. You can make a landing page in command. That's your sign-in sheet. If you have an iPad or another tablet, here, sign-ins at the bottom. Use the KW app. Ask lots of questions. See if you can ask somebody the same thing 3 times in a different way. It's a fun game to play with yourself, especially if you're bored at an open house. How can I ask them if they're working with an agent in 3 different ways?
Is anyone showing you photos?
Yep. Can I get a second?
What's your agent's name?
What's your agent's name? It's a good one. Number 3.
Is this the first property you previewed today or you previewed many?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way. They might say, yeah, well, we were just working with our agent, but they had to go do something else. Yeah, absolutely. Remember, you're there to get leads and appointments. Otherwise, why are you there? Point is to build business. Pursue. This is where people drop the ball all the time. Update your database. If they signed in on a physical sheet, make sure you enter them. Make sure you follow up with everybody. If they give you an agent's card because they're working with an agent, follow up with the agent. Don't put those clients, well, I'm going to say don't put those clients in your database. They're already working with somebody. Reevaluate the goals you set. Did you succeed? What changes might you make for the next time? Hey, I wanted to set 1 appointment at this open house. Did I hit it? Yes, I said 2. Great. And then debrief. What could I have done differently? Do I think it would have been possible maybe to set 3? Did I set 0? Did I even have a chance to set 1? Sometimes you do an open house, nobody comes in. I mean, you set the goal, but you didn't have an opportunity.
So whose job is it to promote the open house? Is it either the host the open house or the listing agent obligated to promote the open house?
The listing agent will generally do some advertisement. You should also advertise it yourself as the agent hosting the open house, because you're the one who wants to get the leads out of it. If the listing agent is promoting it, people on your social media are not going to see it. Does that make sense? So kind of a 2-pronged approach. Make sure that if you're going to be doing any advertisements or posts, that the listing agent is okay with you doing that. Because sometimes, I mean, I've never had an agent tell me not to, but sometimes they have a specific way that they want to do things. And so just make sure that you're adhering to whatever their best practices are. So most agents are just like, yeah, sure, we don't care, like do whatever, and fine. Some agents are like, well, we want to make sure that your photo is not on the open house. Like it's going to be coming on your account. We don't want your photo and contact information on the ad. That's cool. They can still DM me on Facebook. I don't care. Whatever the case may be. Just make sure that you're following what their things are. And how's about planning? Oh, we're gonna be planning an open house. No, we're not. Ahas. We don't have time to plan an open house, otherwise I totally would, because it's super fun.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How do you manage, like, when you're setting up the signs? So first you get to the house and you, like, is there a way you personally do it? Like, you set all your signs up first and then go open everything up, or do you first get everything open? And wouldn't you have to kind of like lock the doors again to be able to go put the signs if you're by yourself? I feel like that's like something I'm kind of like troubled with, like what order to do it in.
So usually I know exactly when my open house starts, 1 o'clock, let's say.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, awesome, I want to be at the open house with my signs by noon or even 11:30, so I can start setting the signs out. I don't even touch the house until my signs are out.
Okay.
And I'll start at the house and I'll put the signs out backwards. And I'll have already looked at Google Maps or whatever mapping service you use to find where I think the intersections are that I want to put my signs are. And I try to find the busiest intersections.
Okay, and how many signs do you typically use?
I have 10 signs that I've done myself, so I use 10 signs. I know the Market Center will let you use 4 for free. That's fine, that works. I know the Renee White team will generally also try to promote you using more signs than not. I think they actually have, I think they want you to put 10 out as well. 5?
No, 10.
It is
Doing
10.
one this week.
Yeah, so I think they want you to put 10 out as well. I would use as many as you think you can, because the more signs you have, the more likely it is people are going to see where to go. Has anybody ever been out on caravan tour? Have you guys gone to CCRIM? And then, so have you noticed that sometimes you'll know where the house is and you're using your Google Maps to get there, and maybe it hasn't happened to you yet? Sometimes agents don't put their signs out for the open house, and it's infuriating. You know where you're going, you have the address, it's in your GPS, and you can't find the house. It is so annoying. So I try to put out as many signs as I can. I have 10, so I use 10. Yep.
I did an open house and I went back to pick up my signs, all my signs are blown down.
That happens. Yep. Nope, that's unavoidable. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. I've done open houses out in Clayton, up on the hill, and it's almost impossible to keep your signs up. I've used sandbags. I've used it's.
Were there ones here, the ones that
Yeah.
they give you, that's why those things are so.
Yeah, they're light. The ones that I printed out myself are also light. The Renee White team signs are nice. You can fill them with sand.
Yeah,
They still blow down. I've had those blow down. So it happens. All right, everybody, that's the end of Ignite Series 7. So thank you for joining me. Those of you in the room, if you're in Deb Z's productivity coaching, I'm also covering that today. So we're gonna have a lot of fun.
There you go.
We're gonna switch gears on that one. But for those of you online, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you all have any questions, you know where to find me in the Market Center. So come and pester me. Love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rob.
For-
Can we take a 5-minute break before we start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I just